I would love to talk to you about how you transition out of traditional medicine with so much debt. Because finances, or lack thereof, is the main barrier as to why I am not even beginning to make any moves at all. My husband is in charge of our finances. And every time I raise a question of changing my path or changing my work lifestyle, he discourages me and says we cannot afford it and tells me not to move. Can you help me, please? Do y'all want me to be responsible, Dr. Nee, or should I be toxic Nee?
You know what? Surgeon's choice.
Because you know what? I did not know so many different people listen to this show. I told you I walked into the post office and Mr. Evans was like, yo, I listened to your show. And I was like, oh! I'm not going to lie, guys. Like, I'm not like this, like, personally. Like, off the show. But
what you about to say? Because it's a lie. Whatever it is you're about to say is a lie.
what do you mean? There are people who I know who will be like, yo, I listened to the show. And I'm like, oh. Like, it's scary sometimes. So I'm like, should I be the responsible one and answer this the way that, like, a responsible person should answer this? Or should I be the toxic person and be very toxic and be like, yo, why is he handling all your finances? All right, we got another question that we have to answer, and it is discrimination in residency and pursuing locums. Ooh. Can we even say this right now? Because, you know.
What?
Hi, Dr. Nee and Dr. Renee. How are you both doing? Are you taking phone calls while we're doing this podcast?
Yes.
Longtime listener of the show. See, this is what I'm talking about, man. Jimmy.
That's my student.
I truly enjoy every moment of wisdom you two share. It's been inspiring and motivating, especially for someone like me. I have a question for both of you. As a non-traditional pre-med who's Black and Haitian descent, have either of you experienced any form of discrimination?
Why are you whispering?
Directly or indirectly from your peers during your pre-med journey, medical school, or as attendings? And if so, how did you handle it, yo? My second question is for Dr.
Yeah. Dr. Renee, say it.
My second question is for Dr. Renee. You introduced Dr. Nee to locums. What made you decide to pursue locum tenens work in the first place? Thank you both for all that you do. Best. Jimmy from South Florida. P.S. Dr. Renee is the worst addition to the show.
That is not what he said. It says, P.S. Dr. Renee is an awesome addition to the show. Thanks.
Dr. Jimmy, thank you for writing in. And listen, make sure you acknowledge the host, okay?
Soon to be student Dr. Jimmy.
Oh, word? Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. So he got into med school? You got into med school, yeah?
No, not yet.
He's working his way.
On it.
Good. Dr. Jimmy, listen, man. Or pre-med Jimmy, we appreciate it, yo. We appreciate it. So this is a very good question, right?
We putting it out there.
Okay, so listen, you're going to do this. So the question is, have you experienced any form of discrimination directly or indirectly from your peers during your pre-med journey, med school, or as attendings?
What about you?
So I'm going to be really honest with you guys. Like, I just went through medical school with blinders on. I was very competitive. I kept to myself a lot. I think part of that was because I had a chip on my shoulder from not getting in the first time. And during those 2 years where I was trying to figure out what I was going to do and thinking about, man, I know I could do well in med school. I deserve to be in med school. One of the things that I promised myself is I would not let anything derail me from doing well in med school. And Renee can tell you, and I'm not lying, I kicked ass in med school. I kicked ass. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I literally was like, F everybody, I got to work hard, and I'm not worried. I'm not paying attention to nothing. So is there a possibility that there were some indirect...
Is there a possibility? We got at least 2 stories for you.
Okay. I just wasn't paying attention to it. And I was moving forward and doing my thing. So if I can't really tell you any stories about, because I
have 2 stories. What are you talking about?
Do I have 2 stories?
When you went to go and check your grade. When you went to go check your grade.
You're going to have to tell me, because sometimes I don't be paying attention.
So you and, let's just say, a student of a different hue, Went to go. So this is before you would check your grade online and stuff like this. So we used to have to check our grades in the back of the classroom, and you were assigned a specific number. You're the only person that knew your number, and whenever you took an exam, you would go back and you would see what your number is and then your grade next
I'm
to
trying to
that
remember
number.
who you're talking about.
Um,
Oh, yeah. I
okay.
see what you said.
So you and a fellow student,
Yeah, you're gonna have to tell the story because
a fellow student went to the back of the class at the same time and went to check your grade.
yeah.
And you tell me this story when you get back. And I'm like, hey, yo, what the heck? So tell me what happened. What transpired, Dr. Nee, when you went to go look at your grade and this student was also looking at his grade?
I forgot how it got brought up, but I did okay. I did good, and I'm not sure how that person did, but basically,
Right, because you don't know each other's numbers, so you don't
yeah,
even know what number. They didn't know what scores they were looking at, right? Because you knew your number and he knew his number, but
right.
he essentially asked you, "How did you do?"
And at that point, I didn't feel like lying, so I just told him how I did, and to this day I don't remember how he did.
So
But
you did better than him.
okay,
You definitely did better than him because he eventually got kicked out of school for academic reasons,
right.
right? So this person who what's the real going on now? Little did he know that in a year and a half he would get kicked out of
Oh
school for
yeah.
academic reasons. Um,
Yeah, I'm gonna tell y'all. I really
he
there's a
you
lot of
came
times. There's a lot
back
of times I'm not paying attention. Yeah.
You came back and you told me, yo, you know what such and such just said to me? He just said to me when
Yeah.
I told him what my score was that he didn't think that I would do that well in school.
I didn't. Yeah. He said based off of how he said you just don't strike me as the type of person who would do well in school.
Right. And I was like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Now, let me tell you, it's funny because if you ask who has the bigger temper, it's actually me. But if you ask who has the fastest temper, it is me.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, you do have a faster temper.
I do have a faster temper. I was like, the hell that mean? Oh my God, I was so heated for you. I'm like, you don't understand what he just said to you? You're like, whatever. I was so mad for you. I was big mad.
I think part of it. I think I kind of realized, but I just was like, I did better than him anyway.
Right,
So it's like,
exactly. So it didn't matter,
who
right?
cares? Like,
So then you also had the story of this is the end. Like we are done with medical school and we are at our awards ceremony. Remember?
this one I don't know if you. I think this one is not related.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is. So everybody knew, at least at our school, that one of the most prestigious awards you can get is the surgery award, right? And so they're giving out awards, they're calling up people, this award, that award. And then here comes the surgery award. And the surgery award goes to
This is in med school, right?
This is in med school,
yeah.
right?
So
We're ending.
This is based off how you did in your
like your rotations,
and stuff.
Yeah, whatever. Scores, all kinds of things. So surgery award goes to Nee Darko. Yay! Right? All right. We are walking around the place, now awards are done. We're eating dinner and people are just kind of walking around. And I'm walking with Nee and one of our fellow students say, hey, Nee, how'd you swing that surgery award? And I immediately, I got the fast temper.
Renee's like the Doberman.
I got the fast temper. Okay. Now, again, this is a student of a different hue, not the same hue as the first one, but still a different hue. And he says, how did you swing that surgery award? So I stop and I'm like, well, it's because he's a shit. And he's like, ha 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 ha. No, seriously, how'd you swing that surgery award? And I said, it's because he's the shit. Like, what are you not understanding? And then we kept walking. So my temper goes up fast, comes down really fast. So for me, that question was something that was like, there are certain people you would not have asked that question to, right? Like he would not have asked that question to certain people. But because Nee Darko, um, looks a certain way, he asked that question. Also, it was also assumed that you played basketball, but that one was a little
Yeah,
less
I definitely,
less benign.
bro, I broke some
It was
stereotypes
assumed that
there.
he played basketball.
I was
They
horrible.
put him on the team. They called the team Nee Darko and the token white guys. And let me tell you,
So I had to play.
Dr. Nee Darko does not play basketball.
That's what I did get in school. They don't teach that.
That one was less benign
But
or less malignant,
I think
I should say.
so. Like those type of things. I don't know why. I had blinders on during those times and stuff, and I just wasn't paying attention. She was way more aware of it than I was. But I have to be honest with you. Like in my rotations in residency. Now I went to a HBCU program
For residency.
and then I went to the middle of central Pennsylvania to work. There's not really any occasion that I can think of in front of my face blatantly where there was some type of discriminatory action that I can think of. But I could tell you right now, like, that stuff is a heavy weight to carry. That I think a lot of times people who are underrepresented, they kind of put on themselves too sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just decided that I'm not going to carry that
Yeah.
weight because I can't change anybody's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Can't,
Yep.
and I won't. Right.
Yep.
So for me, I'm not going to take that weight on. My job is not to change your mind. My job is to take care of you when you're sick. My job is to take care of you when you're about to die and bring you back, from the gates of heaven before, you go there.
And
that's
trauma
it.
surgery, so you don't always succeed, but that's okay.
So I think you don't know my numbers, right? So I think that in general, I try not to carry that stuff around with me because I think that stuff weighs a lot. If it's there, if it's blatant, for me, I'm the type of person who likes to handle things like point blank and to the point, specifically if I see it. I'm not the type of person who's like, I'm just gonna let it go. I'll be like, yo, if you have an issue with me, you don't want me to take care of you, then it looks like you're going to have to go 2 hours because I'm the only trauma surgeon for you in 2 hours, and you have to go figure it out because I'm the only one on call today.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody else coming to help you, And so, yeah, that's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah.
So I don't let it bother me. I don't really think about it at all.
I think for me, my biggest one, I've shared this story before, is just about, my pre-med advisor in particular. Whether it was discrimination because of race or discrimination. And I will say this, discrimination because of grades is real. Okay. Like that is real. Right. And I'm not talking about, oh, well, you didn't get into the program because you didn't, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about discrimination, by pre-med advisors who basically are just looking to get their numbers up. And so they're like, yeah, we're not going to invest in a student who isn't necessarily the perfect student.
Y'all can see.
And for me, I'm like,
y'all can see this is personal for her. Look at her.
And for me, I'm like, well, the numbers aren't yours if the student is doing really, really well. Like you didn't put anything into this, right? Like if I came to you with a 4.0 and said, okay, I'm ready to go to med school, and you write me a little pre-med letter, I'm like, what the hell did you put into? You didn't put anything into this.
They're going to look at you like Hercules.
Exactly. And then they're going to take the credit, right? So for me, the best pre-med advisors actually take the time to figure out who are the students who do want to go to medical school but don't quite know how to get there and maybe are fumbling a little bit, and then do something to help, right? Do some sort of intervention to guide them. Whereas my pre-med advisor decided to tell me that I should go to dental school, and then said, no, but that's hard to get into also. Then she said, maybe you should go to graduate school and do something else. So I was like, okay, she's weird. I didn't like the advice that she gave. So I was like, okay, well, then I won't go back to her for advice. Right? I wasn't like, oh my God, like I'm not going to get into med school. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But I never thought to myself that I wasn't going to make it into medical school. And I think that's where you and I are very similar. Right?
So you had no doubts.
I had no doubts I was going to make it into med school.
Hey, yo, I had
I
doubts.
maybe
I had doubts,
I've said
yo.
it before. Maybe I was naive. Maybe I was cocky, but I had no doubts that I was going to make it into medical school. I just didn't know how I was going to get there.
Yo, because when I didn't get in and I was working at the Sports Authority or I was working at CompUSA, yo, when I was filling out them applications to work at Sears, yo, my sister almost got me a job at AT&T. I was like, yo, I ain't never going to med school, yo. I'm going to just be working customer service, yo. Yo,
I did all them jobs too. I did.
Listen, I'm keeping it real. I didn't even say that on the podcast, yo, on that other podcast. Yo, your brother was tight. Tight. I was like, yo, I don't know if I'm going to do this. But anyway, keep going.
No, I always knew I was going to get in. I just didn't know how it was going to happen, you know? And whenever anybody asked me, even during my post-bac years, when people ask me, oh, you going to get, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go. I'll apply when I'm ready, when I am ready. And I knew that I was working up to being ready, right? So that was probably, you know, the first time that something was like blatantly in front of me, like, well, you know, you can't do it anyway or whatever, right? Just kind of discriminating against me because specifically in this case, probably because of my grades. But again, I don't know that if I had not been of this hue, if it would have been looked like, well, you know, yeah, you didn't do well in chemistry, but, you know, maybe you can do something else. So that's very possible that, you know, if I were of a different hue, I might have gotten a different response to be like, hey, let's intervene here and see what we can do to help you get onto the path.
What about any other time, like
in med school?
In med school or in residency?
I can't remember in
or as an
med
attending,
school.
anything like that?
I can't remember in med school. As a resident, I will say that I do think that I was targeted and discriminated against by an attending, by a very specific attending, probably because of my race. This was a Hispanic attending, and he was just caustic, just completely caustic to me, and really sought me out to just make my life a living hell. So I had no beef with this man. I do not know this man.
I hate to say it. I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street. I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
As Keke Palmer said, I don't know this man. So I didn't know him. Palmer, right? I didn't know him from a can of paint when I first got to
Keke Palmer, man.
No, we don't. When I first got to residency, I didn't know him from a can of paint, but he decided he just didn't like me.
He didn't like you.
Yeah, he just decided he didn't like me. As an attending, I can't say. I mean, the most that I've ever been asked is like when I had locks, are you Jamaican? I'm like, nope. Booyaka.
I'm not gonna front. When you had locks, I like the locks.
You like nice. The locks.
I like the locks.
You the one that okay, anyway.
All right, let's go to the second question.
But yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Dr. Renee, because your memory is way better than my recollection. So, so the second question is, okay, that is true. So Renee did introduce me to locums.
I did.
Right? So what made you decide?
Locums.
What made you decide to pursue locum tenens work in the first place, Dr. Renee? Can you keep it short and sweet?
I will keep it short and sweet. Yes. So I met an attending in residency, and she essentially introduced me to locums, but I didn't know what setting I wanted to work in.
And we had broken up too.
No, this is before. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I didn't work locums because you broke up with me. Like, what kind of stupidness is that?
But didn't you like go to like Alaska, remember?
No, I went to Idaho. I didn't go to Idaho because you broke up with me.
Same thing.
No. Anywho, so this guy that, you know, a lot of things in my life don't actually have anything to do with you before we got married.
Hold up, yo. Let's just toxic knee. So hold on. So when you was doing locums, you mean to tell me you ain't pick Idaho because we had just broken up?
What? So let me ask you a question. What does Idaho have to do?
No. Don't ask me no questions. Answer my question, yo, because you straight up tripping right now, and you changed it, and you recollecting, and you potted. I want you to tell the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth!
TRUFF, because you done told me y'all went to Idaho to get away from you. Stop fronting.
To get away, you went to Miami.
Okay.
You
whatever.
went to Miami. Where were you going to find me? You first of all, your family was in Jersey. My family was in New York.
Don't be
So
putting
even
that
if I
like
went
that. Don't
back,
be saying addresses.
even
Yo,
if I
people be
went to New
listening to the
York,
show. People
even
be
if I
listening to the
went to
show.
New York,
I don't know how
I
they
wouldn't
be
have
acting
seen
on the
you.
show, yo.
So I
Come
don't
on.
even know what you're talking about. You went to Miami. Anywho, so I ended up doing locums because I didn't quite know what setting I wanted to be in. I didn't like the idea of signing on the dotted line, and just not knowing, what an employer was really going to be providing for me in terms of experience, especially because a lot of employee jobs, you have to sign. Usually they want you to sign for 3 to 5 years. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I had seen my seniors kind of go through the interview process as well. And just some of the things that I heard from them, I was like, I'm not really too keen on, like, some of them were being made promises that I was just kind of like, that sounds like a lot of bullshit to me. Um,
Yo, looking for a
so,
job. Looking for a job when you're a resident is not sexy as hell.
Yeah.
It's not sexy.
Yeah.
But
One of
keep
my
going.
mentees is actually looking for a job now. And yeah, it's tough.
So when you did locums, I was like, when we started talking, I was like, yo, I was just so fascinated by it because, I didn't understand how you got paid. Remember, I would always ask you, I was like, yo, so did they pay you first before you got there? Right? Because I didn't understand.
No.
I didn't understand that you had to do, you worked and then you submitted a timesheet and then they submitted the paper. I didn't get the whole concept of, you getting a check that has no taxes taken out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Guess I ended up on the lam from the IRS.
Yeah.
They come in.
She's telling the truth, y'all. So I did locums because she convinced me to do locums because for me, I didn't like the interview process at going to all of these different hospitals. You go there, you interview there for 8 hours, and then at the end of the day or the next day, they give you a contract.
They're trying to sell you a house.
The contract is for like 3 to 5 years. They show you where houses are and so forth. And I just was not willing at that point to be, I don't know. I just didn't want to be in one place for that long. And I just had a really nasty exchange between a potential employer and me. And I remember telling Renee about it. And in essence, the program director was yelling at me, telling me to make a decision quickly because, there was certain major things in the contract that we just couldn't get past that I had a lawyer look at, and I was waiting for my lawyer to get back. And when I say major things, I'm talking about like how much call am I going to take?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens if I go past that threshold of
Mm-hmm.
call? How should I get paid? That's a big deal, folks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anybody says. Like, you need to know the scope of work, right?
Yep.
How often are you going to be on call? If you're on call and you go past that point, how are you going to get paid? I'm telling y'all right now, if you are looking at a potential employer and they're just saying, we'll figure it out, run. That's a red flag. It needs to be very delineated how much you're going to get paid. But anyway, I had a bad interaction with that person. Talked to Renee about it. She was like, yo, if they're willing to talk to you like this before you sign on the dotted line, imagine how they're going to talk to you, how they're going to treat you, how you're going to interact when you don't make them happy and you signed a contract with them. And I was like, yo, you're right. So what I decided to do is I was like, yo, I called the locums company like the next day. And then I started doing locums for a year and a half. And it was amazing. I loved it. I did everything that I was always doing as a resident, everything that I was always doing, and it was just fun. And it was a great experience. And then the reason we switched to employed after that was we just decided like, look, we're getting married. We want to start, a family. Let's settle down, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the places that I worked at as a locums for like a year and a half, it was a great situation to land at. And we decided to take that job, turn that from a locums job to an employed job.
Yeah.
Boy, how long did it take me before I was like, man, I wish I never switched?
Oh, it was a while. Well, when we first took the jobs, we had already had in our minds that we would stay there for 3 years. We were like, 3 years max. We ended up staying double that time But we had already put in our minds that we would stay there 3 years.
Well, we stayed there 3 years as employed docs.
As employed docs.
And then we
Yes.
stayed a couple of more years afterwards
Yes,
as
as
locums,
locums
because we
docs.
got what we wanted.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so listen,
yeah.
it's not a panacea. It just works for us. And as I always say in every episode, you know, we may be fans and maybe a little bit fanatical about it, but I do think that most doctors should have some portion of their practice, whatever it may be.
Try it.
Should be as
You might like it.
should be as
Hey,
an-
Mikey.
Hey, let's get Mikey. Yeah, he'll eat anything. Here, Mikey. I guess Mikey didn't like it.
should be as right. That's checks, right? Right. Should be as an independent contractor, locums, whichever way you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Jimmy, man, this is great. Great question, and I wish you the best. I know that grind of trying to get into med school is tough, but you're gonna make it there. And if Dr. Renee is your mentor, you're well on your way.
Yeah, that was so nice of you to say. I paid him $20 to say that, guys.
This message is approved by Dr. Renee. All right, y'all. Yeah, I forget how people can get in touch. You do it so well. So how can people get in touch?
You can DM us on Instagram, TikTok, anywhere social media is. You can write us a fan mail. Go down below and click that link. You can text us too. I forgot about the text number. The text number is down there too. As well as you can go to docsoutsidethebox.com.
And don't forget, everybody, we know everything. So any question
We
you
don't
have,
know everything.
we
This
know
is edutainment purposes
everything.
only.
It is edutainment purposes only, but we know everything. We can
you
answer
know
anything.
everything about edutainment.
Mhm.
Edutainment.
Anything with your
That's
academics, we can answer.
education
Anything
and
with your relationship, we can
entertainment.
answer. Anything. We give the best answers. I've been
Well,
watching people.
Honestly, the ability to answer, yes, we can answer.
No, our answers are the best.
Yeah, okay.
I listen to a lot of different podcasts. I watch a lot of TV, and I'm telling you,
Yo, I hope they put tariffs on freaking podcast equipment because these people out here, some of the things, I'm like, what are y'all saying?
20v1. Hey. All right, y'all. We'll catch you guys on another episode of Docs Outside the Box, y'all. Peace.